And in that folklore show, they had a Schuplattler group dancing away. And I was thinking, maybe we should form something like this so that our wives, primarily, who are along on the jobs all the time anyway, would have something to do. So the next night, Carol and I went back to see the same show. She had a pad of paper, a couple pens, and as we watched the show, I would tell her how the Schuplattler went. Right hand, left foot in front. Right hand, right foot behind. Right hand, left foot behind. Left hand, left thigh. And she would take this all down. She was an excellent secretary, knew shorthand very well. So she was able to write it down as fast as I could say it. And that's how the Schuplattler dance that is listed as the Jaeger March in the Green Book, and was the first plattl that we had. Got back from Germany in late August, announced to the band that I thought we would form a folk dance group. Would anybody like to join? Well, immediately we got the Walkers, the Hammerleys, the Maciers, and those people started inviting their friends. So within another 2 weeks or so, we had, I don't know, 6 or 8 couples. And so the first thing that everyone learned was that Schuplattler number that I had seen in Austria. And very early on, we invited this group from Washington, D.C., called Schuplattler Washingtonia, to come down, and they spent a whole weekend with us and taught us how to do, I would say maybe 10 different dances. And so that's how it got started, primarily as an activity for our spouses.
Jim Hammerly decided that he wanted to get this dance group going, and he had gotten some written directions for dance moves from somewhere. I'm not even sure where. And he asked at the band practice one night if anybody wanted to, come, would they please come? And I think we met at the Lutheran Church on Six Forks Road. At least that's my first memory of it. And and we started doing a dance, but only he had so many different ones. He took the easiest one and we tried something, and then he assigned a dance to each couple to go home and learn it and come back and teach the group. And Dick and Joan Otto were in the group, and they lived behind us. So Jim and I and Dick and Joan got together and read. I can remember Jim and Joan sitting on the couch, and Dick and I were doing whatever they told us to do. And we'd get to a part, and it would be words that we didn't even understand, like LOD. We didn't know that. So finally, after many chances to research what LOD might be, we did figure it out. It was line of dance. But, it was very difficult because we'd never even seen it.
Recordings for the Little German Band in the beginning were total pandemonium. We recorded with one microphone, and these were early days of recording, not like it is today at all. And I'd have to start the band, run to put on earphones and listen to what the band sounded like, go back into the room where the band was, and adjust the volume levels of the different sections. Plus, we weren't really all that good. The first recordings are really hilarious. There's lots of bad notes, and it really sounds like we're having a good time. But it was rough. It was very difficult to make a recording in those days. And even beyond making recordings, usually the dance group performed while the band played. we did make some tapes for the dance group to practice by, and that was very, very difficult because they would want to dance at different speeds than we made the recording. So we rigged up a tape player that could play the dances at different speeds. That was really complicated in those days.
What I remember mainly is that Jim wanted a translation of, and don't ask me what the English version was, and we came to the conclusion that the German version should be the Little German Band spielt auf, and I think Jim said something like Little German Band in concert, which wouldn't translate into anything sensible. Beyond that, I was kind of surprised that anything came of it, but it was the first record.
When we first started, I would say for the first 15, 20 years maybe, the band was played bigger, more frequently, and for good or for bad, I'm not sure which, our beer consumption was much higher in those days, and the band was really, really rowdy. You never could tell what was going to happen. People were really loose. It's much less formal than it is. You may not think it's formal now, but you should have seen it in those days. Things were happening all the time. Sometimes I would look back at the drum section, and I knew trouble was on the way when I saw 2 snare drummers, bass drummer, and cymbal player all with their hats on backwards. I knew things were going to start happening. Things were just a lot more rowdy and informal. The band today sounds much better. The sound is very good, but a lot of that rowdiness has gone away, maybe for the better.
Oh, the band has been a great experience in my life. The number one thing is the camaraderie that we have had, all the members of the band have had with each other. And the other thing, early on in my career, I saw it as a great pressure release for the fairly high pressure environment that I was working in at the university.
Oh, I think camaraderie was just absolutely wonderful. They had fun, and they didn't have any problem with somebody screwing up. That was just part of life.
It was a family experience because we involved our children. In fact, at one point we had a children's dance group, which I sort of got together since I was an elementary teacher. They appointed me. And we did a maypole dance. And we performed, actually, in Memorial Auditorium for an Oktoberfest with the children. And they really loved it. And all the people, you know, thought it was really cute and enjoy. I think they got the feeling that it was a family thing, too. Then that made it really good.
It was a marvelous thing. It was the most fun I ever had in my whole life.
I never thought of that as a serious business. It was totally pleasurable. And I wouldn't have missed any of it.
Well, it was like another family. Especially a long time ago, you knew everybody. It was a much smaller group, and it was another family. It's another support system.
I'm not really an exceptional musician. I like being a team player, but it's been fun, it's been entertaining, it's been full of pleasure, it's been exercise, it's been variety, it's been almost anything you could ask to enhance your life and travel and meet new people, interact with people at fests, and it's been great. It's been a great experience.
What did I choose for a name but what was on that green band book, the Little German Band?
1, 2.
I arrived in North Carolina spring of 1968 after growing up in an area where there was an accordion player in every block. Every possible known ethnic group had a club and music on Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights. Polish, Ukrainian, Serbian, Croatian, Slovak, Czech, everything you can think of, and several varieties of Germans. Came down here, there was not a bit of ethnic music of any kind here. In fact, there was only one Chinese restaurant in all of Raleigh, and there just wasn't any ethnic music. And I thought, well, I would like to have a band, but the primary consideration is you have to have a reason to exist. And I thought, well, most of all these other bands are small. For example, a Polish polka band is a small band, so I'd like to have a band with more people in it. And there should be plenty of opportunities to have German-themed parties. And so I thought it should be a German band in order to have a lot of people in it and have a reason to exist, playing for all sorts of different parties. So that's the reason why it was German. Of course, when Linda became the almost full-time artist for the band, she didn't know anything about music, and she didn't know anything about musical instruments, and she would make these drawings and pictures that showed people playing the trombone with their left hand, that showed people playing with the accordion keyboard on the left side, all sorts of strange instruments that you play, that she didn't realize there was a specific way that you had to play these instruments, and they would turn out to be mirror images or trumpets with 4 valves and things of that nature. It's kind of funny for a while, but she did a great job. And then her husband, Bill Spees, came on with us also as one of our first sound technicians. And those days, sound was really difficult to work with. It wasn't like it is today. It was really tough. And so we ultimately had 3 fellows who handled our sound, and it took all 3 of them when we played at the Civic Center to set everything up.
I met Jim at a party at Macier's house. And then at that point, I don't know whether the drum had already been painted or not, but Jim adopted me very quickly because he could see that he wanted all the festive visuals that go with creating a band. At that point, the band was, I think they had started the dancers. Yes, they had started the dancers because I met him at Macier's. And they were still in the old building having their fest, their Oktoberfest, where the theater is now down there. It wasn't in the big Civic Center. And it was very early. It was like their 2nd or 3rd Oktoberfest. And they were sending out flyers, and they were just beginning to get, and he wanted, for that Oktoberfest, he wanted a lot of visual effects to create a more festive atmosphere. And that's what I was for more than anything. But the logo itself, Jimmy Weaver did.
Band started traveling out of state and going to Charleston, South Carolina, and we went to the World's Fair in Knoxville. One of the early trips was up to Barnesville, Pennsylvania. Carol and I had visited this big German festival there one summer, and so I talked to the people who were running it, asked them if the little German band could come back and come to that festival. So the next summer we were there in Barnesville. That was quite a trip. We took at least a week and a half for that trip. It was very interesting. And we went to Virginia, to Norfolk. We went to Oktoberfest in Atlanta, and we went to Helen, Georgia, which I consider to be one of the major mistakes I made there, and I'll tell you that story, in that we were invited to play in Helen, Georgia. We went down, and we were staying in a motel at one end of the town, and the fest tent was at the other end of the town, about a half mile away, and we played there Friday night. And Saturday morning, 6 a.m., Vince Kopp blew his trumpet for reveille, woke everyone in the whole motel up. And we were scheduled to start, I think, sometime around 11 or so in the morning. So I got this idea. I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we just marched from the motel down to the fest place? So we formed up in the street, in the parking lot, and we had our dance group out front with the flag and the standard, and then the band, and we had our bus behind, and all of our groupies that joined in, and we marched down the main street of Helen, Georgia. We got to, and well, it was a great parade. We got to the fest place. The merchants of the town were furious. Their stores had been packed with customers. We marched down the street. Every store emptied. All the people joined in the parade and went down to the fest place. The merchants didn't like that at all. I didn't realize that the German festival was a sideline. The main reason was for people to be there was to go in the stores and buy things. So they were mad at us, and we never have been invited back to Helen, Georgia again because of that parade.
I wasn't involved with the very first record that was made, but I remember in particular 2 or 3 other recording sites. One of them, I think, was the one for Fest Time, and I'm going kind of in reverse order, which was a cassette that we made, and that was, I believe, at Audiophonics, which was on the corner of Glenwood and, Oberlin and Capitol Boulevard. And we had a couple of sessions in there, and I believe that was in the 80s. Before that, we had a recording session in the Carytown Library. I don't remember exactly which album that was for, but it sounds like it was in the library. And we also had a recording session done in the North Carolina Armory. Dallas Foster was in the National Guard, and he arranged for us to have a recording session there. We also had some rehearsals there. Those are the 3 that I can remember the best.
Did they have heavy? Our first trip to Germany was, I'm not sure exactly what year, 75 or around in there. And basically, I made arrangements in such a way that Carolyn and I had scouted the route out previously, so we sort of knew where we were going to go, but we didn't have any contacts at all in Germany at that time. And we went and we played all sorts of places over there, just on the spur of the moment. And it worked out pretty well. We played some interesting things. One of the crazy things that happened was that when we were in Rothenburg, they have a little figure that comes out of a shuttered window up high at the Rathaus at, I think, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and he raises a stein of beer and drinks it when the clocks chime. So I knew about this, so I said to the band, let's all go down there at that time, and when he comes out and does that, we'll play Ein Prosit. Well, we went down, and we did do that, and afterwards, well, a crowd of people are gathered all around. It's a big tourist town, and we played a few more tunes. And that evening, we went off to a fest. Had noticed a tent a few miles from Rothenburg, so we all piled in the bus, went out there, and it was a very good fest. They had a number of bands. It was really packed. But everyone was tired, and they thought they would like to go home around 9:30 in the evening. Henry Bowen and I said, no, we're going to stay. We're going to stay here. So we did. And it was almost midnight, and the place was clearing out, and suddenly Henry and I realized we didn't have a way to get home. Not that we even really knew that well where it was that we were